Hello, 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 my Facebook friends. Jenny Martin coming to you live from Wollongong with another mindset moment. And I want to talk to you about a topic that's really close to my heart, and it is resilience. So I would love all of us to strengthen our resilient muscle, because it is a muscle that we can strengthen. We are not necessarily born more resilient than others. It is something we learn and that we can learn along the way. Hey Sai, how are you? Because I think that being more resilient just makes life a lot smoother, a lot more fun, and it helps us to crush these goals that we set for ourselves in whatever arena in life a lot easier, so that we're not taken out of the game as much as we are. You know, we understand that life happens, and hey Angus, and, you know, adversity comes our way, and we can just become like a paid active participant, as I like to call it, in this thing called life, rather than just being, you know, thrown from pillar to post like a rag doll, as if life just happens to us, not for us. So, some questions I want you to think about and answer, and I want you to put a 1 in the comments, whether you're watching this live or on replay. Still do it. I want you to put a 1 in the comments if any of these things have ever happened to you. Have you ever lost someone that you have, that you dearly loved through death? Have you ever, on that note, experienced a miscarriage? Have you experienced divorce or separation? Have you had an accident, or have you experienced a illness, chronic or acute in your life? Have you ever lost a job? Have you ever lost a deal? Have you ever been stolen from? Have you ever been cheated on? Put a 1 in the comments. Have you ever had a bad year? Quite frankly, I don't know how we can have a bad year, but some people say that. Have we ever had a bad week? A bad day? Have you ever had a bad night's sleep? So just put a 1 in the comments if any of these things have happened to you. Have you ever had a bad phone call? Have you ever had a bad hair day? And I'm sure that there's going to be lots of 1s in the comments, because adversity does not discriminate. It happens to all of us, and it happens to every single one of us that are playing this game called life. So have you ever wondered, though, why some people seem to just kind of bounce back when things happen to them? They bend rather than break, they swim rather than sink. And that's because I believe they are practicing that resilience muscle and they've just got used to practicing it. And so resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity. And as I said before, it can be learned. It's not just something that you're born with or without. So I want to share some work of an incredible lady called Lucy Hone. She's a New Zealand psychologist and researcher, and she's done a lot of work researching resilience and what makes some people resilient and some people not resilient. And she's written an incredible book called Resilient Grieving, and her story is quite incredible. She was doing all this work on resilience before actually 2 massive life adversities came her way. One of them was the Christchurch earthquake, and one of them was that she very, very sadly lost her beautiful 12-year-old daughter in a car accident 5 years ago. And so all of a sudden she was having to put all her research into practice on her own self, and she realized that actually some of the stuff that she was teaching others was actually not that helpful, and she figured out through her own adversity the best way to teach resilience that actually makes sense and is relevant and is not kind of insulting. So I want to share with you these 3 secrets of resilient people that she has discovered through her life's work. The first secret is that resilient people get that shit happens in life. They get that adversity is a part of life. They're not surprised when hurdles pop up and face them. They get that adversity doesn't discriminate, and they don't feel discriminated against when tough times happen. How many of you have ever said, "Why me?" or "It's not fair"? Please stop it, because it's it's just pointless. It's like you're expecting that somehow life is shiny and happy and beautiful and looks like an Instagram feed, when really, you know, whoever told you that life was going to be that way? No one. Well, hopefully they didn't. And if they did, then, you know, that's some work to do around that. But basically, you know, we know that stuff does happen, and resilient people, they kind of expect it. They don't sadistically seek it out or welcome it, but they just expect it, so that when it does happen, it doesn't absolutely take them out of the game like it would for somebody who's not expecting it. Now, the second secret that resilient people practice is that they get really good at choosing what to focus on and what not to focus on. And this is something that I'm really passionate about. And generally what they focus on are things that are in their control, or things that, in a lesser extent, but still things that they can have some kind of influence on. So teenagers is an example of that I like to use. You know, you can't absolutely control them, but you can still have a little bit of influence on their decisions. But they don't put really any energy into things that they can't control. Now, one of the big things here, the big examples I like to use is the weather. You know, how many of you treat a bad weather day as if it's this major adversity and it's all you focus on and all you talk about? Now, you know, I don't know if that's because there are some other kind of deep-seated problems that you're avoiding, and talking about the weather is just a nice escape, or a good way to not have to go into that. I'm not sure, but well, I have got some theories, which I'll tell you about in a second, but, you know, focusing on the weather is just something that we just can't control. So what the frick is the point? You know, I would rather you focus on the things that you can control in terms of adverse weather, like what color Wellington boots you're going to put on, or what color raincoat, or what you're going to do, what lovely, you know, cozy inside activity you're going to do, or which neighbor are you going to help and ask if they need to, you know, things from the supermarket for. So focus on the things that you can control within the adversities, and if there's nothing you can't control, then really just hold it out here and focus on something else. A way that, and don't beat yourself up if you do that, because, you know, as I like to quite often talk about, we are hardwired to focus on negatives and threats. That was part of how we were able to survive in the caveman times, when all of our threats were generally physical, not psychological. So we are hardwired to really seek out threat and focus on it. And a good example of that is if I was, you know, back in the day and I was a cave woman and I came out of my cave and there was a rainbow to my right and a saber-toothed tiger to my left, what the hell do you think I'm going to be focusing on more? Not the rainbow. You know, I'm going to be focusing on how to get away from that tiger so that I can survive. But the problem is that most of our dangers these days as modern people are psychological, and our brain hasn't really yet learned to discriminate between what is a major threat and what is just, you know, something a little bit smaller that we don't need to focus as much on. But it has evolved a little bit more than we give it credit for. So most of us are going around as if we only have this old reptilian brain that can just see threat and it can't discriminate what type. But we have the neocortex now, the frontal lobes, which enables us to kind of ask questions and try to discriminate, you know, whether this is something that we need to worry about or not. And we can do that by choosing what we focus on. And we can do that by using a technique called gratitude. Now, don't yawn for some of you who are over us talking about gratitude. You know, the research, you know, the research, we can't ignore the research is what I'm trying to say. You know, the more that we focus on things that we're grateful for, or the rainbows, or things that are good in our life, if gratitude is too far of a stretch, then the more resilient we become. That is an absolute hands down fact now. And so that's something that resilient people do. And the third thing that they do is they get really good at asking themselves, is this helping me or harming me? Okay, very, very simple, not rocket science, but very, very helpful. So they understand that they can kind of ward off or nip potential threats or adversity or hurdles in the bud a lot earlier if they decide whether the thing that they're about to do is going to harm them or help them. So, you know, a good example here, quite a powerful one, is in terms of grief. So we can't stop, you know, loss happening to us, but we can kind of choose the actions that we take in order to help us or harm us through this grief process. So when I lost my brother a few years ago, I got into a bit of a bad habit of, you know, I understood that we can channel our grief and that we can actually choose times to actually really feel the grief so that it's not just kind of popping up through our day when we least expect it and kind of just, you know, making our day a bit rocky. So I was channeling it. So each night I would get some red wine. The twins would be in bed. I'd pour some red wine, and then I would put on some really emotive, beautiful music that my brother and I used to listen to together. So melodic house music, really emotive dance music that would just get me so upset, and I would just cry and it would just like ruin me. And it started off quite cathartic, but I realized I was starting to wake up the next day much worse and more emotional than the day before, and then the next day, and I realized I actually had to stop that because it was starting to harm me and not hurt me. Not help me. So that's a massive example, but other things in terms of like body transformation, if you're wanting to make some changes in your diet or your body, you know, not, you know, asking yourself when you reach for that second or first bread roll, you know, is this going to help me or hurt me right now? And choosing, you know, the first option, going for a more healthy option. In terms of relationships, you know, is it helping me or harming me to sit there and just go through in my head all the negative things that person has done for me or to me? Or is it more helpful to actually really focus on the good things that person has done for me? And, you know, social media scrolling, is it actually helpful to wake up in the morning, grab your phone and scroll Instagram or Facebook rather than wait till later when you're in a better state to actually receive whatever you're seeing and then make it work for you? So just asking those questions, is it helping me or harming me? Because those things are going to, especially just in terms of like small things that kind of take you out of the game in the week, it can really help you have a smoother day, a smoother week, so that you are able to, you know, crush whatever goals you're going for, or just be happier in your days or weeks. So to summarize, there are three things that resilient people do. They get that shit happens. They get that life happens to them, or they make it happen for them as opposed to them. They get that adversity is a part of life. They expect it, and they don't feel discriminated against when tough times happen. They just understand it happens to all of us, and so they don't get taken out of the game as quick. They get really good at choosing carefully what to focus on, and generally it's things they control, so not the weather. And they get really good at asking themselves, is this helping me or harming me? So again, not rocket science, but stuff that we can all learn and we can all get better about to build our resilient muscle. I like doing that because it will just be happier. Life will just be happier and smoother. And I want that for all of you. All right, love you all. Thank you so much for watching. If you've just come in, make sure that you play it back and watch it from the beginning. I think it could really help, and I will see you next week. Bye.